So this is what I think about conservatives. They are basically very angry, mean-spirited people, and that basically gives rise to the entire phenomena that is their ideology. At core, they're just simply selfish, and they want to dominate not only people that don't look like them, people that don't talk like them, people that don't behave like them, people that just don't identify as people that are in the us group. Okay, so the us group for conservatives is it's arbitrarily defined by them. It's defined by simply their own belief that there is such a thing as an us and them, and whatever the us is, they're going to defend till their death. And they'll ignore any new incoming information, any new data, anything that contradicts that ideology, and they'll never allow that new information to enter their belief system because it completely disrupts everything they believe in. So conservatives essentially are the people that would rather take a life than have anybody in. They would rather take an innocent life than have somebody that's a transgressor of their in group have their life taken, because they value the concept of us so highly, and they'll defend it until to the death. They look at liberals like they have they have zero comprehension of what it means to be an artist, what it means to be a musician, what it means to be a philosopher, what it means to be a mathematician, a physicist. They have absolutely no. They're so out of touch with what that even, the entire life of a creative intellect, of an intellectual person, of a humanist. The concept of humanism, the concept of humanity as a journey towards greater wisdom, of a journey of self-understanding, a journey of understanding others, a journey of understanding the way that matter works, the way that the universe works, the way that things we can't see work, the way that things that are extremely far away and extremely huge work, the way that extremely small things that are extremely close work. It doesn't. Because they have such their minds don't. They're not smart enough. They're so small-minded that those fields of inquiry and the entire act of a compassionate intellect of an individual striving with all their heart to uncover the truths of reality, they actually believe that that's just, they see it on the surface as just something that doesn't contribute to making money, to bettering their own cause, or to making them happier. Their concept of pleasure is that as like a child. They just want more stuff. They want things that comfort them. They're Epicureans. They just believe that they have a very difficult time not identifying pleasure and happiness with bodily pleasure, with physical happiness, with worldly happiness, which is completely contradictory to Christianity and the beliefs that they hold so dear, essentially, but they're completely blind to that reality because that involves a certain level of humanistic understanding and philosophy to be able to grasp that concept. Conservatives just hate so much. They're at core, they're the kids in school that just really didn't probably feel too special and unique in terms of being talented or being artistic or being unique. Their parents just told them, they were raised by authoritarian parents that told them that the highest good you can do is to follow my lead and follow your family's lead. That was beat into their heads. They had a dad that was distant emotionally, and a mother that was just basically the other woman in the house, some tall woman in the house that the dad kind of talked to, not there for developing the young man's feminine side, and the male was not there for the woman to develop her masculine side. You have two kids that fit perfectly into stereotyped gender roles from the beginning because of their authoritarian, narrow-minded parents. And they never were, if they showed a talent in music or they showed a certain interest in something that piqued their interest in the sciences or whatever, that was not supported by the parents because the parents didn't understand it. And I'm not giving entire credence, I'm not attributing their behaviors and their ideology entirely to their upbringing. I'm not calling this a nature, entirely a nurture against nature, because it's not like that at all. Because we have great studies that talk about the biological underpinnings of political ideology, of just social ideology. We now understand that very much a place that we can look at to understand human behavior in the political sphere is by looking at biology and testing it scientifically. But we also know that you can't express, not only genes aren't expressed unless the environment, if without proper and adequate interaction from the environment, but also just regular behaviors are not expressed, they're not nurtured if the environment doesn't nurture them. If the parents talk about self-expression in a way that is in negative terminology. So, a liberal who, even somebody that's open-minded, a conservative will look at a liberal who's trying to get to understand them, trying to get to know them, trying to accept their perspective, and say, this person's so flaky, they're so flimsy, they don't believe in anything. And the liberal's saying, well, you know what, you have absolutely no idea what beauty is. And that's another thing that liberals, we know, is that conservatives are just the most tacky, just out of touch aestheticians, essentially. They have no sense of fashion, music, art, no sense of how to put together, disparate ideas or colors or sounds and to put them together in a way that's harmonious. So if they don't understand that how would they ever understand what being a liberal is? How would they ever understand what being a creative person is, an artist or a scientist? They don't understand how paradox can actually be turned into something that's harmonious, which is what art oftentimes tries to do. If they don't believe that's even possible, if they just see it paradox, two separate ideas as being things that just need a war with each other until one wins, then of course they're not going to understand the life of the artist. The artist is about reconciling different perspectives. And that's what makes it beautiful. That's why, in music, you have counterpoint. You have two things that are doing seemingly different things, but they're arranged in a way that allows for resolution of harmony to something that is, so we can see the progress of these two different ideas turn into something that is a unified whole. And that gives us an understanding of the way the universe should work, or society should work, or politics should work. And it's beautiful to us. In art, we see, the most, terrifying images juxtaposed to things that draw us in and lure us into their beauty. And we see them together in the same situation. And it makes us understand that the world is that gray area and that no one side should win or the other one should win. It's a compromise that, Earth, humanity and even the physical world teaches us about how contradictions exist in reality. And that paradox is something that can teach us a higher truth, not them versus us. It's not us and them. Ultimately, conservatives just, instead of finding that harmony, they just say, I'm going to fight my ass off until I crush you. And if I beat you, then I win. And that's why they have to have an us group. And that creates their entire, their entire pantheon of the good people and the bad people. There have to be good people and bad people. That's why these politicians always talk about, conservative politicians will always mention this thing of this idea of the bad guys. The bad guys are doing this, the good guys are doing this. You don't hear Democratic politicians or Democratic, activists. You never hear them talk about us getting the bad guys. There is no the bad guys. It's a grayer area, and it takes a little bit more of a sensitivity to the way the world works to understand that there are not bad guys sometimes. And a lot of times, the guys you think are just bad guys were probably turned that way by people that stereotype them as such from an earlier age, from an early age or from an earlier time period. And they actually, conservatives just believe that once you're bad, you're done forever. So they love the death penalty for that reason, that it's just, you're done. There's no reformation, there's no human development, there's no progress of the human soul, the way that, there's no notion of human development for conservatives. It's just, we were born this way, we're the better group, so you guys were born your certain way, so fuck you guys, and you should all just basically fuck off, because you lost, and we won, and that's it. And, and meanwhile, there are people working their ass off to find harmony and find a way that people can, that the poorest or the most, the downtrodden or the disadvantaged, that we can find a way to integrate them as human beings into the world of happiness and the world of spiritual fulfillment, of material fulfillment, of happiness, in the same way that we can, and we also want the rich to be integrated in the same way. We don't want, it's not socialist to say that we want everything to end up in the middle. It's not the middle that we want. We just want everybody to be able to experience what a happy human life is, because their perspectives are just as important. So conservatives are just, they're foolish to us. They look just dumb. They're just tacky. They just have no sense of, they literally think that billions of other believers in other religions are just wrong and that they're right. That's the level of arrogance we're talking about. And it's shocking, and it's dangerous. And that's why I think conservatives.